Okay, in this lesson we're going to talk about exponents and multiplication and how we can combine expressions that have the same base so that we only have one exponent. And if you look on your notes, you will see that we have the expression 3 squared times 3 to the 4th power. Okay, 3 is the base, and I can break these apart and I can say 3 times 3, which is 3 squared, and then 3 to the 4th power times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So how many 3's am I multiplying here? When I count them up, I have 6. So I have 3 to the 6th power. So that's what we're going to be working with today. We're going to be talking about how I can combine these expressions or combine these powers to make one power so it's easier for us to work with our problems. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at the rule that we're going to be following. The rule says to multiply numbers or variables with the same base, you will add the exponents. What you need to remember and what you need to look for is that that has to be the same base. That's the key indicator on what you're going to be doing. So let's look at the three examples that are given to us. I have 4 to the 3rd power times 4 to the 7th power. Well, what's our base? Our base is 4. So I can add these exponents together. I can say 4 to the 3 plus 7th power, which equals 4 to the 10th power. So I can combine those together to make one term. In the second example, the base is going to be what's in the parentheses, and what's in the parentheses is negative 2. So I have negative 2 to the 3rd power times negative 2 to the 5th power. Okay, since the negative 2 and the negative 2 are the same base, I can add these two exponents and I can say I have negative 2 to the 8th power. Do not let the parentheses trip you up. The parentheses tells us what the base is, and it must match exactly. And in the last example, we have variables. I have x squared times x to the 1st power. We don't normally write x to the 1st power. We'd usually just write it as x. But to make sure that you recognize there's an invisible 1 there, I put it there. And so our answer is going to be x to the 3rd power, or x cubed. Okay, just want to remind you that you need to be careful when you're doing these problems. In order to add the exponents, you're going to have the same base. And if you look at the example that I have 4 squared times 2 cubed. Okay, you cannot add those exponents, you cannot multiply those numbers, you cannot get 8 to the 5th power. And if you look at the explanation, 4 times 4 times 2 times 2 times 2 is not going to equal 8 to the 5th power, and I believe we have those numbers of 128, and it does not equal 32,768. So please be careful. Okay, and remember, this multiplication rule only applies to products. It does not apply to the sum of two numbers. And if you look, I have another example. 2 squared plus 2 cubed does not equal 2 to the 5th power. And if you work that out, you have 4 plus 8. And that does not equal 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Or in other words, 12 does not equal 32. Okay, here are your 3 got it problems. The first problem is 2 to the 5th power times 2 to the 3rd power. The second problem is negative 3 to the 4th power times negative 3 to the 8th power. And your last got it problem is x times x times x squared. Okay, so go ahead and combine those, put them in simplest form, and we'll talk about these tomorrow.